Welcome back to my big project, the villain deep dive of the Daleks. If you haven't checked out part 1 yet, please go and do that first. And last episode we talked about the original 1960s run of the Daleks, featuring the first and second Doctors. This time we will be covering part 2 of Dalek history, the pre-Davros, post-black and white Dalek episodes, which is just the third Doctor's run. One quick note before we start, the last video got copyright claimed by the BBC, and so it's banned in a bunch of territories. So I make no money off these videos, so it's kind of a shame, and to be honest, I think I could probably dispute this as it is obviously in fair use, but I frankly can't be bothered. So yeah, I'm not sure why all these clips are literally ancient, but I'll see if this one gets copyright struck as well, and then if it does, I'll probably just transition to having still images for the rest of these videos, I guess. Let's just get into this. So, the Daleks didn't reappear in Doctor Who until 1972 with the 4-part story Day of the Daleks. This time we are with the suave third Doctor, played by John Pertwee, and this episode is notable for a few reasons. Firstly, it's the first Dalek episode to be produced in colour. It is the first appearance of the Ogrons, and was the first Dalek story following Evil of the Daleks, which had spelled the, definitive end for the Daleks back in the 60s. It is also the first appearance of the gunmetal grey Dalek drones that appear for the rest of the classic series. One of the appearances of the golden Supreme Daleks. There are also some bits of trivia here and there that I'll add later, but for now, let's get into it. So this story is about an assassination attempt on a British diplomat called Reginald Styles, who is trying to stop World War III. The attacker has a futuristic ray gun, but disappears before he can complete the deed. The unit hears about this and sends off Joe and the Doctor and the Brigadier to investigate. While there, another one of these assassins, which are guerrilla fighters from the 22nd century, tries to kill Reginald again, but he gets bodied by 2 big ape things called Ogrons. So the Doctor and the gang investigate the area and find out the knocked out gorilla. It turns out that the Daleks are in control of the Earth in the 22nd century and using the Ogrons as their flunkies. The Doctor finds a time machine in the house that leads between the 22nd century and the 20th, and basically the rebels are trying to kill Styles because of an explosion at his house that will cause World War III and for the Daleks to take over. However, the Doctor realises that rebels themselves will be the cause of the explosion, and so they are stuck in a paradox. The Daleks in the future realise that the Doctor is messing about on Earth and launch an attack on him, and the Daleks are then destroyed in the past and the future is corrected. Ta-da! The Daleks are defeated once again. So this episode is kind of notorious for being pretty shit. The Daleks' voices are awful. I feel like the actors just completely phoned it in.
Whoever is operating the time machine is an enemy of the Daleks.
They're literally so bad that when they re-released this episode, they just got Nicholas Briggs to re-record all the lines.
Whoever is operating the time machine is an enemy of the Daleks.
They also added some better special effects because the original Dalek attack at the end was so awful. There were literally 3 of them, and so they added some digital Daleks in to make it seem a little bit more believable. The Daleks weren't even meant to be in this originally. The Ogrons were meant to be the villains, and they sort of shoehorned the Daleks in at the last minute, and it shows. This was the first appearance of the gold and black Dalek leader, along with the gunmetal grey Daleks, which are the generic Dalek drones for the rest of the classic series, so that's neat. Overall, probably the worst Dalek episode from the original series. This seems kind of weird too, I'm not quite sure how we transitioned from the classic Daleks to the new ones. Apparently there was a deleted scene where it was explained how they survived Evil of the Daleks, but not the best showing for the genocidal Pepper Potts. Anyway, so moving on to Frontier in Space. This story doesn't really feature the Daleks that much, to be honest, but it's still a Dalek story, and so... Anyway... This story mostly focuses on a political drama between the humans and a race called the Draconians, who, shock horror, kind of look like reptiles. Anyway, these two have had a peace treaty, but it's breaking down because both sides keep getting reports that the other side has been attacking them when they actually haven't been. The Doctor shows up to investigate and learns that the Ogrons are in on it, because people really wanted to return to them, I guess. And the Master is working with them to cause a galactic war. The Daleks are also in league with the Master here, and anyway, at the end of it, the Daleks run off to their base, and the Doctor goes to pursue them, but gets absolutely wasted by an Ogron, and falls into a coma, as they chase off after the Daleks. The Doctor does, however, manage to get a transmission out to the Time Lords to let them know about the Daleks, and that's the end of it. So this story is notable for being one of the few times the Master and the Daleks have actually shared screen time, and as being the final time Delgado ever played the Master before tragically dying in a car accident. So, the Daleks do barely feature at all, though. It is predominantly a Master story. But yeah. So we then move on to Planet of the Daleks, which is a direct follow-up to Frontier in Space. This sees the Doctor waking up on the planet Spyridon, which has now been subjugated by the Daleks. The Thals are here because they are still fighting the Daleks apparently, and they are trying to stop the Daleks from waking up this giant frozen army of Daleks that is stuck on the planet. The Daleks have taken over and subjugated the local Spyridons, who are invisible, and set out to work making themselves invisible. You'd think this would be a big problem that it is, because they don't really use this ability more than once. Would have saved the BBC quite a lot of money on props though. But the Doctor gets captured by the Daleks, and the Thals intercept a communication to the Dalek Supreme Command, which informs them that there is a Dalek army of over 10,000 in stasis on the planet, waiting to be, reanimated to conquer the universe. So it turns out the Daleks are also trying to make a bacteria bomb to destroy all life on the planet and ensure that they can wake up the army. So the Doctor and co manage to escape and hide out from the Daleks. The Doctor learns about molten ice that comes up like a volcano across the planet, and learns that extreme cold disables and kills Daleks now, apparently. So with the Daleks getting ready to release the bacteria bomb, the Thals and the Doctor infiltrate the Dalek base and manage to set the bomb off early, trapping a bunch of Dalek scientists in the room with it, because if they open it, they will sort of kill all the other Daleks. The Dalek Supreme then shows up to oversee the final stages of the operation. He's not having any of this bullshit and quickly destroys the Dalek leader with facts and logic for his incompetence.
You have failed! The Supreme Council does not accept failure!
The Daleks then begin to wake up the boys, but the Doctor manages to flood the base with molten ice, sending the army back into suspended animation and trapping the Supreme Dalek and his buddies in the base as well. So this story was the first Dalek story to be written by Terry Nation in 8 years. It features the return of the Thals, and plays sort of like a Dalek's greatest hits, as described by Nicholas Briggs. It includes many major beats lifted straight from the older episodes, such as Spyridon being hit with a plague before the Daleks come to invade. Overall, this episode is more well known now for introducing the absolutely zany Dalek Supreme, who somehow looks cheaper than your normal Dalek prop, and even has a straight up torch for an eye stalk. So, yeah. To be honest, the Daleks look really rough in this era. Colour is not treating them too kindly. But anyway, we now move on to the last story for this video, Death to the Daleks. Which features one of my personal favourite Dalek designs, being the silver and black Dalek. Anyway, the Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith land on the planet Exelon, and the TARDIS has all its power drained away. While out investigating the planet, the Doctor and Sarah Jane come across some humans who are also having issues with all the power from their machines being gone, and a group of Daleks who are stuck on the planet as well. Their weapons don't work because of the power drain, and so both groups are sort of forced to work together. Both groups are looking to mine something called Peridium, as there is this new super plague working its way across the galaxy. Guess who caused it? And Peridium is the cure. The humans need it to cure the plague, and the Daleks need it so they can blackmail the human empire into giving in to all their demands. So anyway, the big Avengers team-up keeps getting attacked by the native Exelons, and they all get captured. However, the sneaky Daleks manage to replace their laser guns with machine guns, and I'm not too sure where they store the bullets or how they reload them, but anyway, and then attack the Exelons. They force the humans and the Exelons to work for them to mine the Peridium, but the Doctor and Sarah Jane manage to escape, and they stumble across this big ancient city built by the ancient Exelons. They also find a group of rogue Exelons who live close to it. And anyway, the city is run by an AI, and the ancient Exelons, who were super intelligent and capable of space travel, built it. However, they gave it a brain and then tried to destroy it because they realised they'd make a huge mistake in making the city not need them. So the city took them out, and it is the source for all the technology not working. So the Doctor sets off to destroy it. The Daleks are also there to investigate and destroy the transmitter that shuts off all the technology. But so the Doctor manages to destroy the city to free the Exelons from it, and the Daleks manage to destroy the transmission that stops the electronics from working. The Daleks then have the humans load all the Peridium up onto their ship. They're then prepared to fire a huge plague missile at the planet to kill everyone and ensure that they are the only ones who have access to the miracle drug. But then Sarah Jane reveals that all the Daleks have is sand, and that the humans have somehow been stealing the Peridium this whole time, and that this human dude smuggled himself aboard the Dalek ship and blows it up from the inside. Ta-da! And that is the third Doctor's era of Dalek stories. Pretty different to the first and second Doctors. The Daleks are a lot less sneaky here and have a bit of a different command structure with Supremes and Councils instead of the Emperor. The schemes are still fairly similar, but the performances and portrayal of the Daleks are very hit and miss. I think colour really hurts the Daleks in a lot of ways. It highlights how cheap they look back here, and the painted on eye stalks look really bad compared with the actual telescopic ones from the 60s. I actually don't know why they changed this. Like, I don't know if there's an actual technical reason why they had to change this, or whether they just decided to, but it looks significantly worse. Overall, I think this is one of the weaker eras for the Daleks, but it is sort of the last hurrah of the Daleks being sort of an independent threat to the Doctor. This is the last time we really see the Daleks as the primary movers of their own stories, until New Who at least, with the introduction of Davros, but we'll talk about him a lot in the next video. The Dalek designs are kind of interesting. The gunmetal grey makes them seem a lot more militaristic and less sort of ethereal and sci-fi. And the gold colour scheme is kind of gives them a more regal appearance. As far as their actual tactics, they remain pretty much the same. But they get played for laughs a lot more here than they used to. I don't know. Overall, I think the 60s are a much stronger era for the Daleks. And, I mean, John Pertwee himself really did not like them. He said the Daleks were completely silly.
I hated them. I thought they were stupid things. They looked as if they were made of wood. They had sink pumps sticking out the front. That was a useless device. And also, you only had to go down a flight of stairs and you got them up the creek, didn't you? I mean, they could only go trundling along the flat, so they were the most useless thing.
They remain pretty much the same, but there was just a certain magic they had in the 60s. But moving on to the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th Doctors runs of the Daleks, they really change. And that's a discussion for next video. So, thank you very much for watching this part 2 of my deep dive into the Daleks. Let me know what your favourite Dalek story from this era actually is. And if you want to help out the channel, make sure you like and share and subscribe. And if you want to check out something that I wrote, my novella The Seraph of Kitsch is completed on my website. There is now a download for the full thing as a PDF. There will be a physical release coming at some point. So yeah, thanks very much.